You've probably heard me talking about this self-sufficient living skills bundle that's been going on. And I have been spending the last week flipping through so many of the incredible resources within this bundle. Now, I will say there's a lot. There's over 118 different ebooks and courses and lessons sharing incredible wisdom and knowledge with you so you can live off the land and you don't have to rely on this corrupt and broken system for everything for your family. Anyways, I wanted to share some of my favorite things. One, first off, is off-grid homeopathy. This course is loaded with so much incredible knowledge, talking about homeopathy for first aid, for colds and flu, how to make your own homeopathic remedies. Like, as an herbalist who loves to teach that stuff, that's pretty exciting to hear it in the homeopathy realm. There's also some incredible fermentation guides, so many other amazing herbal recipes and food recipes, and how to make your own sourdough bread, how to do your own organic gardening and canning of all of your foods. Really, there is so much. And yes, I know. I've talked about it a ton, but this entire bundle is only $50 right now until Sunday, March 24th. I'm sharing my herbal first aid skills, which is a course that's $47 on its own. I'm sharing recipes that I used when I got my products into REI for herbal first aid kits and so much more. You'll have to check it out. I'm serious. Like, you can absolutely change your life with this bundle. So there is a link in the show notes for you, and I hope you check it out. I hope you take advantage. Don't worry, you don't have to go through everything right away. You can access everything for up to a year. Once you're in the course or have the download, it's yours for life. It is a steal of a deal. Okay, self-sufficient living skills bundle in the links for you. There is so much free medicine all around you, and people are trying to get rid of this amazing medicine every single day. Plants that can actually improve your health and your life in dramatic ways. So, how can you start to look at these super abundant plants and recognize them as friends, as allies, and not as the enemy? How can you use them as food and use them as medicine? Well, stay tuned, because in this episode, I'm dishing the dirt on 3 more of my super abundant weedy plant friends that, yes, you can use as food and incredible medicine. Hello and welcome to The Herbalist Path, a podcast where you'll discover how to make your own herbal remedies at home so that you can take better care of yourself, better care of your family, and better care of our planet. I'm Mel. I'm a clinical herbalist, environmental educator, and mountain living mama with this crazy passion for teaching more mamas and their little loves how to use plants as medicine in a safe, effective, and tasty way so that there can be an herbalist in every home. Again, it's an absolute honor to have you on the journey down the herbalist path with me so that together we can make herbalism #spread like wildflowers. Hello, and welcome back. So if you tuned in to the last episode, you now know 3 awesome weeds that likely grow all around you and how you can use them as both food and medicine, which is pretty darn cool, right? And if you didn't tune into that episode yet, be sure to do that right after you listen to this one, or before, or whichever makes you happy. Just listen to it. Anyways, so super big surprise for you today. I'm going to share 3 more amazing medicinal herbs with you today. Yahoo! Free medicine all around you. So if you were one of the ones that listened to the last episode, I would love to know if you found any of these plant friends around you yet, or if you've made anything with them that I had suggested you made. If you have, definitely please shoot me a DM or an email and let me know what you created. That's so much of the fun in this whole herbal medicine game. Okay. So the first herb for this episode is dandelion, or what is lovingly referred to as dent de lion, or the tooth of the lion. There's a lot of dandelion lookalikes out there, and one great way to see if you're dealing with the actual dent de lion is to check the leaves. Are they sharply serrated, almost resembling the tooth of a lion? That could be a surefire sign that you are indeed dealing with dandelions. And another way you can tell you've got dandelion is through the stem of that bright, beautiful yellow flower. It should be hollow in the center. And when you pick it, it should release this milky white substance, which is actually latex. So I think that's pretty cool. I hear it all the time, how people think they're at a dandelion because they see another bright yellow flowered weed growing around, but it's absolutely not dandelion. So figured we'd put that out there first for you. And now let's talk a bit about how you can use this abundant plant as food and medicine in your home. And honestly, I'd probably be talking to you for about a week if I talked about all of the ways. So I'm going to point out just some of my favorites and the most simple, beneficial ways you can use this plant. So, one, dandelions are incredibly nutrient dense. The fresh leaves can be added to your salads and meals. They are loaded with beneficial vitamins and nutrients like vitamins A, C, and D. In fact, 1 cup of raw dandelion greens can give you up to 14,000 IU of beta carotene, which when is inside of your body turns into more vitamin A, which is super helpful for your vision, and it also plays a critical role in cell growth and maintaining healthy organs, important ones like the heart, your lungs, your kidneys. Dandelions. Dandelion is also loaded with calcium and fiber, iron, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, chromium, and a whole lot more. And another reason I love to eat these leaves fresh and raw is because it's really rich in bitters. So that means it's going to help your liver do its job, releasing beneficial digestive secretions and also helping your body to break down fats and proteins, which is really amazing. And dandelion leaves are a wonderful diuretic, so it's going to help you to release excessive water retention for anyone that may be dealing with edema or other kinds of water retention related swelling. So this diuretic effect can be really, really helpful, particularly for mamas that are dealing with swelling during pregnancy. You know what I mean when you suddenly see kinkles like you never dreamed of, or when your hands and your eyes and all of the things are just swelling beyond all belief. No, not your belly swelling. It's not going to reduce that. We want that to keep growing, that precious baby inside of you. But also, this water retention, the ability to release it, is also super helpful for mamas who aren't pregnant. Maybe you experience that swelling and water retention when you're dealing with PMS. My tongue does not work today. Have you noticed? Anyways, how could you possibly not love this wild and bountiful weed with so many amazing medicinal properties? I don't get how anybody couldn't love it. So the next time your neighbor or someone you see out there is spraying their dandelions, just tell them to stop. Stop polluting our earth and respect that plant for its medicine and its food. And speaking of that, you're definitely going to want to be sure your dandelions are coming from an area that has not been sprayed with those nasty pesticides and herbicides. And yes, you also want to avoid the areas that are popular with your neighborhood pets. For the obvious reasons. Anyways, another cool thing that dandelion leaves can do for you is help to release uric acid, which can be super helpful for people that are dealing with kidney stones or gout or even arthritis. There's really so much more, and so far I've only touched upon the leaves of this powerful weed. So let's chat about the roots. Surely you've heard about using dandelion roots, right? Either way, whether you have or not, you're going to hear about it right now. So the roots contain a really high amount of choline in them, which is going to help your liver to produce more bile. And then it's going to reduce congestion and stuckness in the liver and the gallbladder, which is really, really beneficial. It can be really, really great if you're trying to detox from drugs or even caffeine. So yeah, mama, if you ever come to a time in life where you're like, oh my gosh, I finally need to ditch the coffee, you can absolutely turn to dandelion root to help you ditch the need for caffeine and also just to purify or help clean out your body and the liver after pumping it full of so much caffeine for so many years. And then another added benefit from dandelion and from doing this with the roots is that you can also reduce the symptoms of PMS or other hormonal irritations during the perimenopausal years, which I'm rapidly approaching. So that's a super duper extra bonus to making the switch if ever you were considering it. And those of you that deal with seasonal allergies, you may also want to turn to a bit of dandelion root as it's been shown to prevent seasonal allergies as well as reducing inflammation, particularly if you're dealing with inflammation related to food allergies or gout or stiff joints or fibromyalgia or even rheumatoid arthritis. Whew, so much comes from this bright, vibrant, beautiful, and abundant plant. And what's extra cool is that it is so abundant. You don't have to stress about the sustainability or the ethics of wildcrafting this. In fact, your neighbors may think you're a bit strange, but I'm sure they'd be grateful if you came over and trimmed their yards of their dandelion. This is so important. It's so important. Okay. I'm not going to go on too much of a soapbox on the importance of sustainability and wildcrafting because that's a whole nother rabbit hole for me. So let's talk about the next precious weed or plant friend that I love so much. It's absolutely adorable and precious, and it's chickweed. So this lovely little plant loves to pop up in the springtime, and she has the cutest little white flowers on her. There are a couple of almost lookalikes to chickweed, but one way you can tell if you have chickweed is by looking for this really thin line of hairs that grow along the stem. So the hairs are not all around this angled stem. They're just in a nice, tiny, neat little line. Pretty cool identifier if you ask me. And chickweed is also a super cool plant, indeed. So its biggest claim to fame is for its anti-inflammatory properties for various skin conditions, which, by the way, it's absolutely lovely for. It can be great for the more itchy or really dry skin conditions like eczema or psoriasis, dandruff, poison oak, those kinds of things, or poison ivy even. Chickweed is wonderful for other skin conditions, like if you get a burn, or maybe you're out harvesting nettles and you've been stung, or a bee, or a wasp, or a spider bite, any of those kinds of things. Chickweed can really come in handy. You can just use the fresh plant if it's around you and make a tiny spit poultice, which basically means you chew up the plant and then you put it on whatever area is infected. And it will draw out the venom or the infection and also just provide this cooling ability and get rid of the heat and the inflammation. Another place where chickweed can be really helpful for mamas that have babies is in dealing with cradle cap or diaper rashes or all the general ouchies that are pretty much inevitable in our kiddos' lives. Chickweed is like gold for this stuff. So you can use the fresh stuff again, or if you are really smart, you can infuse an oil of it during the spring so that you can have it around all year round. And another cool thing about chickweed, and a lot of people don't really think about this, is that you can use it for various respiratory conditions as well. So if you're dealing with like super dry and hoarse respiratory conditions, maybe you've got laryngitis, or maybe it's just a common cold with that scratchy throat, you can try some chickweed. You could make a tea with it. So it's loaded with this really cool stuff called mucilage, which creates an almost slimy effect, or maybe a more delightful way to think of it is as a cooling coating layer of love for dry, irritated mucosal membranes, like your respiratory tract or your skin and your digestive system. So it can also be helpful in cases of ulcers or other inflammatory conditions in the digestive tract, like IBS, diarrhea, ulcerative colitis, or even Crohn's disease, which is amazing. So when it comes to those digestive tract issues, ideally what you're going to do to get the benefits of this plant and its ability to soothe the inflammation is to either take it as a tea, or you could juice it even if you wanted, and to take it on an empty stomach so that the chickweed has the ability to do its job in the best of ways. And yeah, ladies, chickweed can be really a nice cooling tonic for those that are dealing with hot flashes and night sweats. Yeah, so much in this tiny little weed. It boggles my mind still to this day, even after 20 years of studying this stuff. And yes, if you're wondering about chickweed, you can take it as a tea, you can make it into an oil, you can do it fresh as a poultice, and you can totally eat chickweed on top of a fresh salad of lovely greens. So it has some pretty beneficial nutrients as well, like calcium and iron, magnesium, phosphorus, protein, vitamin A, zinc. Yeah, and it's so cute and it's so abundant. So use these weeds, please. And are you ready for it? This one next is one of my all-time favorite plant friends around. And it's found all over the ground. In fact, it's known as white man's footprint because it did not originate here in the States where I live, yet it certainly looks as if it's all over anywhere we have stepped. And it's like this pretty much all over the world. Like, I guarantee you it's somewhere very close to you. Check your sidewalk cracks, check the sides of roads, check the park, check other disturbed areas. And just for clarification, when I say plantain, I am not talking about the banana, like the fruits. I'm talking about Plantago major or Plantago lanceolata. Both are amazing plants to use. And again, they are incredibly abundant. In fact, plantain is one of those plants that I tend to say, when in doubt, plantain all the way. It's got a lot of the similar uses and benefits that chickweed does, only it's even easier to find. And yes, you can use them together for an extra weedy medicine bonus. I think they're actually really, really great together, especially for skin stuff. And speaking of skin stuff, I love to use plantain topically for all the things. Bee stings, spider bites, burns, cuts, scrapes, basically any of the things that inevitably happen through a summer of fun and play. And yes, of course, well beyond summer too. It's got this really, really cool ability to draw out infection and venom, like this super duper powered ability to do it. I've even seen it draw out splinters and thorns that have been stuck in the skin for extended periods of time. It is truly amazing. Like, I get really giddy and gushy over plantain and its amazing ways. It's actually one of the first plants I studied when I really started diving into the world of herbal medicine. And now I use it in my essential salve over at Mountain Mel's. I use it in the Afterburn, which is this magical sunburn skincare I make. Yeah, and it's part of the secret trick as to why they work so well. I love it. So yeah, back to plantain. You can use this common weed. It's really epic first aid. Even when you're at the park and someone gets a bee sting, you can mash it up or chew it up if you're confident on the lack of chemicals or animal waste around there. If you're not confident in that, then just mash it up with a rock or something and place it on the affected area. Yes, you can absolutely make an infused oil out of it as well. It can be drunk in teas. I actually put it in 2 of my teas. I put it in my respiratory rescue tea because it's got some of those same demulcent properties I was talking about with the chickweed. So it helps to coat and soothe a sore throat. And it's also a superhero when it comes to inflammation in the digestive tract. So I use it in the respiratory rescue. I use it in my digestes and my backwoods belly. And it's particularly helpful for those that are trying to treat ulcers or dealing with diarrhea or, yes, leaky gut. It's amazing because it can help rebuild the cells of the gut wall, provided you're not continuing to throw fuel on the fire, on your inflammation. Seriously, plantain, it's everywhere, and it's like a superhero in my life. And the reality is that all of the plants I've talked about in the past 2 episodes are superheroes. They are here for us. They are here in abundance. We really need to collectively shift the thinking of the perfectly manicured lawns, doused with nasty and toxic chemicals, and move to a world where we not only allow these plants to grow and thrive, but where we use them so that we can grow and thrive. We use these plants as food. We use these plants as medicine. Let's make the change, y'all. And if you have found this episode or the one before it beneficial or fascinating or inspiring or any of that stuff, please, 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 please be sure to share it with your friends and pass this along so that we can make herbalism spread like wildflowers. Or maybe I should say, spread like wild weeds. And again, if you have found these really beneficial or you've been finding these plants around now and you're starting to make cool things with them, I would love, love, love for you to reach out to me and let me know. And I thank you so much for tuning in to another show. Have a most beautiful, weedy day. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of The Herbalist Path. Being on this journey with you is absolutely incredible. If you dig this episode, please leave me a review on your favorite podcast player and share it with your friends so that together we can make herbalism #spread like wildflowers. On another note, I must mention that while I know you're getting some good info here, it's important to remember that this podcast is purely for entertainment and educational purposes and is not intended to be a substitute for medical treatment. While the information in this podcast is absolutely relevant, herbs work differently for each person and each condition. That's why I recommend you work with a qualified practitioner, whether that be another herbalist, a naturopath, or your doctor. So thank you again. I am truly honored that you're tuning into these episodes and on the path with me to make sure that there's an herbalist in every home again. Don't forget to share this episode with your friends so that we can make herbalism #spread like wildflowers. It has been so much fun and so, joyous watching all of my medicinal plant friends popping up in my garden, from the elecampane to the comfrey and the arnica. I love seeing these friends pop up. And if you are still trying to decide what to grow in your medicinal herb garden, you've got to grab my guide. It's all about the most essential herbs that every mom should know and should grow. So I teach you how to grow them and the many different ways that you can use them. If you want to grab the guide, go ahead. It's free, and I'm pretty sure you're going to get a lot of delight and use out of it. And there's a link to it in the show notes. I'm wishing you tons of happy medicine planting.